Evan Hale stood alone in the center of the Grand Council Hall. The room was bigger than any city stadium on Earth. Rows of floating platforms held the leaders of hundreds of alien species. Some were tall and thin like shadows. Others were wide and armored, with eyes that glowed. Above them, the ceiling showed stars moving slowly, like the galaxy itself was watching. Humans were new here. Humans were small. Humans were judged. Evan could feel it in the air. The council did not see him as an equal. They saw a weak species that had somehow reached the stars by luck. Some aliens whispered. Some laughed softly. Others stared like hunters watching prey. Evan kept his hands still. He had trained for this moment for years. He was not a soldier. He was a diplomat. His job was simple and impossible at the same time: speak for Earth, and keep humanity alive. At the far end of the hall stood Commander Lyra. She was not sitting like the others. She stood, tall and calm, her armor dark silver with lines of blue light moving across it. Her species was known across the galaxy for strength and honor. Warriors. Conquerors. Survivors. Evan tried not to look at her. But his eyes moved on their own. Lyra's posture was perfect. Powerful. Confident. Beautiful in a way that made Evan uncomfortable, because it reminded him how human he still was. He swallowed and focused on the floor. The council leader spoke, its voice echoing through the hall. The human representative may speak. Evan stepped forward. His translator activated, ready to turn his words into 1,000 languages. His heart beat hard in his chest. He had a speech prepared. Careful words. Safe words. But his mind was loud. He thought about how silent the room was. How dangerous this place felt. How one mistake could end his species. And then, without meaning to, one private thought slipped through. His lips moved. That armor, it fits her incredibly well. The words went out. Not in English. In every language. The hall froze. Total silence. Evan felt the blood drain from his face. His eyes went wide. His breath stopped. He knew what he had done the moment the last echo faded. Guards moved. Weapons hummed to life. Some alien leaders shouted in anger. Others leaned forward in shock. A few laughed loudly, enjoying the moment they thought would end humanity. Evan's mind screamed. He wanted to explain. To apologize. To disappear. He slowly raised his head. Lyra had turned toward him. For one long second, she said nothing. Her eyes studied him. Not with anger. Not with humor. With focus. Evan waited for death. Then Lyra smiled. It was small. Controlled. Real. She stepped forward, the sound of her boots echoing across the hall. The guards hesitated. The council leader lifted a limb, confused. Lyra spoke. Her voice was steady. Clear. Powerful. So, she said, a human finally speaks the truth without fear. A wave of noise exploded across the hall. Shouts. Protests. Laughter. Anger. Lyra raised one hand. Silence returned instantly. She looked at Evan again. Do you know, she continued, how rare that is? Evan could not speak. His mouth was dry. His heart still raced. Lyra turned to the council. You call humans weak. You call them dishonest. You say they hide behind words. She pointed at Evan. This one did not hide. The council leader moved forward. Commander Lyra, this was an insult. No, Lyra interrupted. Her voice became cold. It was honesty. Unplanned. Unfiltered. She stepped closer to Evan now. The distance between them felt heavy. Human, she said softly, did you mean what you thought? Every eye turned to Evan. This was it. The moment that would decide everything. Evan took a breath. His training told him to lie. To soften the truth. To survive. But something in Lyra's eyes told him that lying now would be worse. Yes, he said. The hall erupted again. Lyra's smile returned. Wider this time. Interesting, she said. Very interesting. She turned back to the council. This meeting is no longer about treaties. The stars above the hall seemed to slow. It is about understanding what humans truly are. Evan felt it then. That one accidental thought had changed everything. And the galaxy was about to find out why. The noise inside the Grand Council Hall did not fade quickly. Voices overlapped in anger and disbelief. Some alien leaders shouted that the human should be removed. Others demanded punishment. A few watched in silence, their eyes sharp, already sensing something dangerous unfolding. Evan Hale stood where he was. His legs felt heavy, but he did not step back. He knew running would only confirm every bad belief the council already had about humans. Commander Lyra raised her hand again. The sound died instantly. Control yourselves, she said. Her voice carried authority that did not need force. If a single honest thought can shake this hall, then perhaps the problem is not the human. Murmurs spread again, lower this time. Lyra turned to Evan. Human diplomat, you realize you have broken a sacred rule. Evan nodded slowly. Yes. Then tell me, she said, walking in a slow circle around him, why do humans fear honesty so much? Evan followed her with his eyes. He chose his words carefully. Because honesty can hurt. And because the truth is not always safe. Some of the council laughed. Others hissed. Lyra stopped in front of him. And yet, she said, you spoke the truth without thinking. She faced the council again. That is not weakness. That is instinct. The council leader floated forward. Its many eyes focused on Lyra. Commander, your interest in this human is unusual. Lyra did not look at the leader. So was your mistake in underestimating his species. A ripple of tension moved through the hall. Lyra activated a hologram with a simple gesture. Images appeared in the air. Human cities rebuilt after destruction. Humans standing in disaster zones, helping each other. Soldiers holding the line while afraid but unbroken. You have studied humans from a distance, Lyra said. You counted their weapons. Their ships. Their numbers. She turned sharply. You never measured their minds. The council leader shifted. These images prove nothing. They prove resilience, Lyra replied. They prove that humans move forward even when fear tells them to stop. She turned back to Evan. Tell me, human. When you spoke your thought, were you afraid? Evan hesitated. Then he answered honestly. I was afraid before. Not after. The hall went quiet again. Lyra nodded once. Exactly. A tall alien with crystal skin spoke from the side. Commander, are you suggesting humans should be trusted? Lyra's eyes narrowed. I am suggesting you are already too late to ignore them. She stepped closer to Evan, lowering her voice. Do you know why I smiled? Evan shook his head. Because you reminded me of us, she said. Long ago. Before we learned to hide behind control. She straightened and addressed the council. I propose a test. Instant reactions followed. Some shouted approval. Others protested loudly. A test of honesty, Lyra continued. A test of pressure. The kind no weak species survives. The council leader paused. And if the human fails? Then humanity leaves this hall alive, Lyra said calmly. With my protection. Shock spread through the chamber. And if he succeeds, the leader asked. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Then you will finally face what humans truly are. Evan felt his stomach tighten. He had not agreed to any test. But he also knew refusing would end everything. I will do it, he said. Lyra looked at him, surprised for the first time. Then she smiled again. You already did. The floor beneath Evan began to hum. A soft vibration moved through his body. He felt pressure in his head, like invisible hands pressing inward. This is only the beginning, Lyra said quietly. Many species break here. Evan clenched his fists. His thoughts raced. Fear rose. Memories of Earth flashed through his mind. But beneath the fear, something stronger formed. Resolve. The council watched closely as the test began. None of them noticed that Lyra's smile had faded. Because she already knew the result. And she knew the galaxy was not ready for it. The pressure did not stop. It grew. Evan felt it inside his head, like a storm pressing from every direction at once. The floor beneath his boots vibrated softly, sending a steady hum through his body. It was not pain yet. It was worse. It was weight. Heavy, invisible, and endless. Around the hall, alien leaders leaned forward. Many of them knew this test well. They had used it on enemies, prisoners, and even their own kind. Most minds shattered in seconds. Some screamed. Some fell silent forever. Evan did neither. His breathing slowed, not because he was calm, but because he forced it to. He remembered training rooms on Earth. Simulations. Long hours where fear was pushed into his mind on purpose. Humans trained for stress. For chaos. For moments when control was an illusion. The pressure searched for his weak points. It showed him failure. Earth burning under alien ships. Human cities in ruins. People running, crying, reaching out for help that never came. The images were sharp and cruel. Evan's jaw tightened. He had seen worse. He had seen loss in real life. He had buried friends. He had watched humans stand up again after every fall. The pressure changed. Now it whispered. You are small. You are alone. You do not belong here. Evan felt fear rise in his chest. Real fear. Cold and deep. But fear was familiar to humans. They did not erase it. They carried it. Evan opened his eyes and lifted his head. The council noticed. Murmurs spread. Some aliens shifted uncomfortably. A few exchanged looks of concern. Lyra watched silently. Her arms were crossed, her expression unreadable. But inside, she felt something rare. Hope. The pressure increased again. This time, it tried to force Evan to kneel. His legs shook. Sweat rolled down his face. His heart pounded hard. A sharp pain flashed through his skull. Evan groaned, but he did not fall. He remembered why he was here. Not for pride. Not for himself. For Earth. For billions of humans who would never know how close their future was to ending in this room. He spoke, his voice rough but clear. I am still standing. The words echoed through the hall. The council leader's eyes widened. Increase the output. Energy surged. Several alien leaders gasped. One collapsed on its platform, unable to handle the feedback. Others turned away, suddenly uncomfortable with what they were seeing. Evan's vision blurred. His knees bent slightly. Lyra took a step forward. Then she stopped. She knew this moment mattered. The pressure showed Evan something new. Lyra. Standing alone on a battlefield. Wounded. Surrounded. Still refusing to fall. Evan understood. This test was not just about humans. It was about will. He straightened his back. "I won't kneel," he said quietly. The floor cracked beneath his boots. Silence spread again. The council leader pulled back, shocked. "This is not possible." Lyra finally moved. She raised her hand, and the machine powering the test shut down instantly. The pressure vanished. Evan collapsed to one knee, breathing hard, but alive. Conscious. Unbroken. The hall erupted. Not in anger. In fear. Lyra stepped beside Evan and looked down at him. "Stand." He pushed himself up, slowly. His legs still shook, but he stood. Lyra turned to the council. "This is why humans are dangerous." A wave of whispers moved through the chamber. "They feel fear," she continued. "But they do not let it decide for them." She placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. "They endure." The council leader said nothing. For the first time, it had no words. Evan lifted his head and met their gaze. They no longer saw a weak species. They saw a warning. And somewhere deep in the vast hall, the galaxy began to understand a simple truth. Humans do not break. They adapt. The silence after the test felt heavier than the pressure itself. Alien leaders stared at Evan Hale as if he had stepped out of a myth. Some leaned back in fear. Others whispered urgently into private channels, their confidence shaken. The test had not just failed. It had revealed something the council was never meant to see. Lyra stepped away from Evan and faced the chamber. Her voice was calm, but it carried a sharp edge. "You have spent centuries controlling fear," she said. "Using it as a weapon. Using it as a leash." She paused, letting her words sink in. "And now you have met a species that lives with fear every day." The council leader floated forward slowly. Its glow flickered, an unconscious sign of unease. "Commander Lyra, your point is noted. But one human does not represent an entire species." Lyra turned sharply. "You are wrong." With a gesture, more holograms filled the air. Not prepared ones. Live feeds. Human rescue teams pulling survivors from collapsed cities. Firefighters running into flames without hesitation. Medics working through exhaustion and terror. Soldiers standing firm while clearly afraid. "Humans do not wait for fear to leave," Lyra said. "They move with it." A tall insect-like delegate clicked its mandibles. "Then why are they not conquerors?" Lyra's answer was immediate. "Because they choose not to be." That unsettled the hall more than any display of power. Evan stood silently, still recovering. His body hurt, but his mind was clear. He realized then that Lyra was not defending him. She was warning them. The council leader signaled for restraint. "Commander, what is it you truly want?" Lyra looked at Evan, then back at the council. "I want you to understand the mistake you have already made." A low hum filled the chamber as defensive systems activated instinctively. Fear had spread. "You invited humans here as applicants," Lyra continued. "As potential servants. Soldiers. Tools." Her eyes burned. "You should have invited them as equals." A ripple of panic moved through the hall. Evan finally spoke. "We never wanted dominance." Every eye turned to him again. "We wanted a place," he continued. "A chance to exist without fear of being erased." Lyra nodded once. "And now you have shown them why erasing you would be impossible." An alarm tone echoed softly. The council leader froze. "Report," it commanded. A synthetic voice replied. "Council networks experiencing unauthorized activity. Human encryption detected." Gasps filled the hall. Evan's heart sank. That's not possible. We did not. Lyra raised a hand to stop him. No. You did not attack. She smiled, but there was no humor in it. Your mind simply adapted faster than expected. She turned to the council. While you tested one human, the rest of his species listened. Learned. Observed. The council leader trembled. End this immediately. Lyra's eyes hardened. You cannot. Screens across the hall showed human systems interfacing peacefully, not aggressively. Translations improved. Data paths corrected themselves. They are not hacking you, Lyra said. They are understanding you. Evan felt a chill. Humanity had not come to fight. They had come to learn. Lyra stepped forward, her voice dropping. And now they know how you think. The council leader pulled back. This meeting is suspended. No, Lyra replied. This illusion is ended. She turned to Evan. Human, your species has passed every test you never agreed to. Evan met her gaze. What happens now? Lyra looked around the hall, at leaders who no longer felt in control. Now they must choose. She faced the council one last time. Treat humans as equals. Her eyes flashed. Or spend the rest of your existence afraid of what they will become. The stars above the hall seemed brighter. And the council finally understood the truth. The moment they tested humanity was the moment they lost control. The Grand Council Hall had never felt so small. For the first time in its long history, the leaders of the galaxy felt exposed. Their systems were still running. Their defenses were still active. Yet none of that mattered anymore. Fear had shifted sides. Evan Hale stood quietly beside Commander Lyra. His body ached, but his mind was steady. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing on him again, but this time it was different. This pressure did not come from a machine. It came from choice. The council leader floated forward slowly. Its many eyes were no longer burning with authority. They were careful now. You have placed us in an impossible position, it said to Lyra. Lyra did not deny it. No, she replied. You placed yourselves here the moment you chose control over understanding. She turned to Evan. Human, before this council decides, there is something you must hear. The hall went silent. Lyra faced the assembly, her voice clear and final. I did not smile because of your words alone. She paused. I smiled because I recognized courage without armor. A quiet tension filled the chamber. Long ago, Lyra continued, my people faced extinction. We were strong, but strength was not enough. We survived because we spoke honestly, even when it terrified us. She looked at Evan again. You did the same. Without planning. Without fear of judgment. Evan felt something tighten in his chest. He had never meant to make history. He had only been human. Lyra turned back to the council. Humans are not predictable. Not because they are chaotic, but because they choose. The council leader shifted. And what is it you choose, Commander? Lyra answered without hesitation. Alliance. A wave of shock spread across the hall. Humans will not be servants, Lyra said. They will not be controlled. They will not be tested again. She stepped forward. They will stand with us. Several alien leaders protested. Others stayed silent, already calculating the future. Evan finally spoke. We don't want war. Lyra nodded. Which is why you are dangerous. The council leader was quiet for a long moment. Then it spoke softly. If we accept this alliance, what becomes of our authority? Lyra's reply was calm. It becomes shared. Screens across the hall lit up again. Not with threats. With possibilities. Trade routes. Medical cooperation. Shared defense. Human symbols appeared alongside alien ones. Evan realized something then. Humanity had not forced its way into the galaxy. It had earned its place by surviving. The council leader lowered itself slightly. A gesture few species ever used. "We accept," it said. The hall went still. Lyra placed a hand over her chest in respect. "Then remember this moment." She looked at Evan one final time. "The galaxy did not change because you spoke your thought." She smiled. "It changed because you refused to deny it." Evan looked up at the stars above the hall. They no longer felt distant. They felt close. Reachable. As the council hall slowly powered down, a message spread across the galaxy. Humans had arrived. Not as conquerors. Not as victims. But as equals. And every species that heard the story remembered the same detail. The day humanity rose. Started with one honest thought spoken out loud.